Welcome to Forensic Friday, where I tell you one true crime case that was solved using forensic science, all while doing, and that's right, my makeup. Today's video will be featuring the ColourPop Scorpio palette, or quad, Secret Life of Scorpio quad. It's a quad. This was the cutest palette out of all of my zodiac signs that I resonated with, so that is why I picked it up. All the other items I'm using in this video will be linked in the description below. Please read the disclaimer. I am not a professional forensic pathologist, nor am I a professional makeup artist or anything like that. I'm just the average girl at home like you, planning makeup and talking about true crime. So if that's something you're into, then you're more than welcome to hit that subscribe button. I have a cat hair on my lip. Yeah. I'm surprised that it wasn't camouflaged by my mustache. Quick reminder, the comment section is a privilege. Don't fuck it up. Now let's get into today's case. So this all takes place in Redford, Virginia in the year 2000 when 16-year-old Tara Munsey started dating a boy named Nick. Now, Tara and Nick instantly fell madly in love with each other, as we often do as teenagers. You know, you just think that it's a whirlwind of a romance and you just think that it's never going to end. Family members and friends describe Tara and Nick's relationship completely differently. They would describe it as fast and furious, like, oh boy, we got a problem here. According to them, when things were really good between the two, they were really good. Like, they were all over each other. They were inseparable. But when things were bad and they were arguing, it was bad. Okay, so that is the reason why their relationship got the nickname Fast and Furious, which is hilarious if you ask me. When they began dating, the two of them were completely inseparable. Nick was older than Tara, so he graduated high school before her. And when he graduated, he joined the Navy and he was stationed at a base in Illinois, my hometown, or home state, yeah. Now, Tara, she stayed behind in Virginia to finish up her last year of high school. Now, although the two were separated at the time, they were so madly in love and they kept in contact with each other. They did talk about moving in together and getting married and having children. So they were making plans. On the night of January 25th, 2000, Tara finished her shift at Taco Bell and left work around 7:30 p.m. You guys, I purchased this mirror and I was thinking it was a lot bigger than it was. She never returned home. Worried, her parents called police and reported her missing. And what do you guys think the police did? Do you think they followed up on it? Do you think they took it seriously? They didn't. They didn't. They told police it was unlike Tara to not call them after she got off of work and let them know, you know, what she was doing when she was coming home, that she would never do something like that, just not show up. She was always checking in with them. But of course, the police told them not to worry. They were like, listen, it's not a big deal. She hasn't even been gone for 24 hours. Sit tight. She's probably just hanging out with some friends and I'm sure she'll be home in a couple of hours. Wrong! They should just take it more seriously from the start, you know what I mean? So the next day rolls around and Tara is still missing. Authorities found her car still in the Taco Bell parking lot where she had last been seen leaving work. The car was left unlocked and Tara's hat and takeout food was still in the car. It was in the car on the driver's seat. However, authorities did not find her purse nor her car keys at the crime scene. Well, that's strange. Somebody obviously opened the door and put her things in there. It appeared as though Tara had just dropped her stuff in the car and left. Police were trying to figure out where she could have gone without her car. It was the middle of winter. It was freezing cold out. It was snowing out. So highly unlikely that she was traveling not in a car. So police did not think that she had walked off for 1 second, and neither did her parents. And they started to theorize that someone had taken her. I just feel like I need to apply more foundation like every fucking where, but I probably don't. It's just a feeling that I have. They started to question if maybe she had left with someone she did not want her parents to know about. Because obviously if it was her boyfriend, it wouldn't have been a problem. Now, Tara's parents said they knew deep down from the start that something was very wrong. Now, a lot of people were saying that Tara may have run away with her boyfriend Nick because they knew how in love the two were. So police decided to, go and pay Nick a little visit. But when they questioned him, he told them that he hadn't seen or heard from Tara in a few days. And he had an alibi, his commanding officer. His commanding officer corroborated his story and said that he had been on the base the entire time. I mean, as you can imagine, this really spooked their entire town. A lot of people became increasingly concerned about their children and thinking like, what if this was my kid? What if they could just like walk off into the night and never be seen again? Like, that is super creepy. A day after Tara's disappearance, police received some alarming information. A co-worker told them that a night before, Tara had gotten into an altercation or confrontation, not an altercation, confrontation, an argument with two male customers in the drive-thru. Authorities wanted to obtain a copy of, the surveillance camera footage, so they went to the Taco Bell to see if they could get like any surveillance camera footage so that they could identify the two young men. But Taco Bell, I'm not saying this for every Taco Bell, but unfortunately there were no security cameras at her job, like zero. And if they were, they weren't working. And her co-workers didn't see anything, and so police at this point had nothing to go on. Hundreds of volunteers came forward to assist in the search out in the snow. Like, them not knowing was so much more terrifying than them knowing what happened to Tara, so they were willing to just volunteer to go out and figure it out, just because they needed to have some sort of explanation, as to why someone would just walk off from their job and disappear into the night. Police questioned Tara's friends, and they told police that they had last saw her after school on the day she went missing. 2 weeks later, on February 10th, a hiker found a body near Tara's house. It was about 7 miles away from where she lived. The body was found at the bottom of a 70-foot wooded ravine. It was at the bottom of the ravine, and it was kind of hidden. The body was nude from the waist up, and it had been shot 4 times. 3 times in the face and once in the chest. For what? For what? For what? Are y'all out here killing people for? For what? There were injuries consistent with the body being rolled down the ravine post-mortem. Now, due to the freezing temperatures, the body was very well preserved. This would later help forensic investigators. Investigators searched the area looking for evidence that would lead them to answers as to what happened to Tara. Now, this site was also known to be a dumping site. A lot of people would throw trash into the ravine, making it difficult for investigators to search, not to mention the snow. But then investigators got a break in the case when they found a .22 caliber bullet shell casing at the top of the ravine. Oddly enough, the filter to the cigarette was found separately from the bud. Tara's shirt was found in a bush to the side of her body, insinuating that she had been stepped on or the shirt had been stepped on. Could this be a clue to her killer? The coroner's report showed that Tara had been shot 4 times at close range, 3 times in the face and 1 time in the chest. There was blood found underneath her fingernails, which led investigators to believe that she had fought for her life. A rape kit was performed on Tara, but it came back negative. However, there was seminal fluid found all over her body. DNA was sent to a forensics lab along with the bullet shell casings for testing. Ballistics testing revealed a clue to the murder weapon. The murder weapon left a very specific combination of lands and grooves on the bullet. Investigators found only 3 types of .22 caliber rifles that could have fired the fatal shot. They were looking for a Sears, Marlin, or Revelation. And it just so happened that Marlin manufactured for Sears and Revelation. That narrowed things down to just one manufacturer. They also analyzed the partial footprint found on Tara's shirt. Forensic scientists used alternative light sources to determine their findings. Then investigators searched their database for outsourced designs. When you live alone, you learn how to entertain yourself a little bit, okay? Now it's time to go into the palette. But anyway, back to the story. They looked through thousands and finally they got a match and was able to give police a DNA profile. What it looks like in the pan and what it looks like on my eye is completely different. Not that you guys care. You guys care about the story, but what in the hell? They were looking for a person wearing a pair of Nike brand running shoes with a herringbone outsole design. Now, because it was a partial print, they were unable to determine the shoe size. So investigators went back to speak with Tara's friends, and they gave police some additional information that they hadn't revealed before. I guess they were too afraid to tell police this in the beginning, so now they were ready to come forward and speak the truth, finally. On the day that Tara went missing, they were all hanging out after school and they were smoking weed, and there was an older gentleman there as well, and his name was Jeff Thompson. Now, Jeff Thompson was 30 years old. Absolutely not. Okay, what are you doing? So Jeff, with his grown ass, was over here hanging out with some teenagers. He was the one that actually supplied the weed. This is the reason why they were so reluctant to come forward in the beginning, because they did not want to get in trouble for the weed. With further investigation, the police found that Jeff had a criminal background. He had served 2 years in prison for attacking a neighbor with a baseball bat. We don't know what we're doing today, but just I need you guys' support right now because I'm a little nervous. Just a little bit. They also discovered that Jeff did not have regular employment and he would oftentimes stay in his girlfriend's basement. I really don't get that part, because like, if she's your girlfriend, why she put you in a basement? Like, maybe it was his ex. He must have been doing something wrong, clearly. Jeff also had a 6-year-old daughter that Tara would babysit occasionally. Now, when police brought Jeff in for questioning, he told them that he had nothing to do with Tara's murder and he had an alibi. He denied owning a .22 caliber rifle, but he told police that a friend of his named Kevin Williams did. So maybe it was this guy, Kevin. So investigators went to Kevin Williams' home to pay him a little visit. They wanted to question him and examine the gun, but when they arrived, Kevin gave police a different version of events. He admitted to owning a .22 caliber rifle, but said he had loaned it to Jeff and it was in Jeff's possession and he hadn't seen it since. Sounds like these two guys are pointing a finger at each other. He told investigators that he only used the rifle for target practice in his backyard. This is when police got a brilliant idea. They wanted to know if the fatal bullets that killed Tara came from Kevin Williams' gun. So they began searching his backyard for bullet shell casings to compare to the bullet shell casings they found at the crime scene. This would lead to a break in the case when investigators found 2 bullet shell casings underneath Kevin's porch. So ballistics ran a test, and what do you know? They matched. They were able to confirm that the murder weapon was Kevin Williams' rifle, but they only had one problem. The rifle was never recovered, and they weren't sure which of the 2 men was telling the truth. But then, an unlikely witness in an unusual circumstance came forward with some startling information. A woman named Barbara Helton was pulled over for a traffic violation. As officers approached her vehicle and wrote the ticket, she blurted out some crazy-ish. Okay. Pretty much, she blurted out that she knew something about the Tara Munsey murder and that she had been keeping it in for a really long time. She claimed she knew who the murderer was. She feared for her life, so that is the reason why she kept quiet. But now that she was being faced with police, she just felt like an overwhelming amount of guilt, I guess, and decided to offer up this information after holding it for so long. According to her, Jeff had been staying at her house at the time of Tara's murder. She said that on the night of the murder, Jeff came home visibly shaken up, like he was in distress. She said he had dirt all over him. He was muddy. I mean, what more evidence do you need? Lock him up right now. Handcuffs on, everything. Make a citizen's arrest, girl. Put his ass in the back of your car and drive him to the police station because he did it. That's what I would have done. Okay, honestly, I'd have been like, oh, you gotta get up out of my house. You can't be up in my house killing people and not just killing people, but then admitting it to me. No, you can't. So anyway, when she asked him, you know, what was going on, why was he so upset, he said, if only she would have given me what I wanted. And he went on to explain to her that he just wanted to have sex with Tara and she wouldn't have sex with him. She rejected him and it made him infuriated and he just couldn't stop himself and he ended up shooting her, execution style. Now, this was a detail that police never released to the public. It was something that only the killer or someone who was involved in the killing would know. He gave even more details, saying that he shot Tara 3 times. Like I said, this is obviously something only the killer would know. Dude, I'm starting to look at Barbara sideways, like, girl, did you do it? And you trying to blame him? Was y'all both in on it? Cause armed with this new information, police were able to obtain a search warrant for Jeff's car. The first thing they found was a pair of athletic running shoes with a herringbone tread pattern. Using a transparent copy of the tread pattern, investigators placed it over a photograph of the partial print they found at the crime scene. And they got a match. They also collected 2 strands of blonde hair with the bulb still intact. And as we learned from my last video, when the bulb is still intact, that is an indication that the hair was forcibly removed. Looking like a little kitty cat. Oh, wow. No offense, Lucy. They were able to confirm that all 3 hairs were in fact Tara Munsey's. Next, they compared the biological evidence found on Tara Munsey's body to Jeff's DNA, and they got a match. His DNA was found all over Tara's body. I mean, all over it. They also found his DNA on the partial cigarette butt that they found at the crime scene. And police did notice while they were interviewing him that he was smoking a cigarette and he like separated the bud from the filter. And when they asked him before like why he did that, he told them that it was just a habit, something that he had been doing for forever. Oh, I guess he didn't realize that that would eventually get him caught, which it did. Well, that was part of it. Investigators knew that they had finally got their guy. Now that I have my cat eye, I just have to do my cat lip to match. Thanks to forensic science and some good police work, Jeff Thomas was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. However, Tara's mother requested that Jeff receive life in prison instead of the death penalty. And in 2002, it was changed to life in prison without the possibility of parole. What did you guys think about this case and my makeup look? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like these, you can check out my last episodes. I'll leave them linked on the screen right here or right here. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please share because it really helps me out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.